Anxiety doesn't stay because you're weak. It stays because you were taught to survive, not to feel safe. Every day you tell yourself to calm down, to think positive, to stop overreacting, yet the tight chest, racing thoughts, and quiet panic return like clockwork. That's because anxiety isn't an emotion you can silence. It's a system that learned how to stay alive inside you. The more you try to escape it, the more it follows. The more you fight it, the more it tightens its grip. Anxiety survives because it was never understood, only resisted. Anxiety never ends when the mind is trained to scan for danger instead of safety. From the moment anxiety takes root, your nervous system shifts into survival mode, constantly asking what could go wrong next. Even in calm moments, the brain stays alert, interpreting neutral situations as threats. This creates a state of permanent vigilance, where rest feels unsafe and peace feels unfamiliar. Over time, the body forgets what calm actually feels like. Anxiety isn't always loud. It's often subtle, hiding behind overthinking, perfectionism, people-pleasing, or the need to control outcomes. Because these behaviors are rewarded by society, anxiety disguises itself as responsibility, intelligence, or ambition, making it even harder to recognize and interrupt. Another reason anxiety never ends is because it becomes tied to identity. After living with it long enough, people stop saying, "I feel anxious," and start living as, "I am anxious." The mind builds routines around fear, how you speak, how you plan, how you anticipate disappointment. Anxiety becomes familiar, and familiarity feels safer than uncertainty, even when it hurts. Letting go of anxiety can feel like losing a part of yourself because for so long, it has been the thing keeping you alert, prepared, and emotionally guarded. The fear isn't just about what might happen, it's about who you'd be without anxiety watching over everything. Anxiety also persists because unresolved emotions don't disappear. They wait. Suppressed fear, grief, anger, and shame don't dissolve with time. They store themselves in the nervous system. When life slows down or silence appears, anxiety rushes in to fill the space. This is why anxiety often gets worse at night during rest, or when things finally seem okay. The mind is no longer distracted, so the body releases what it has been holding. Anxiety isn't random, it's communication. It's the nervous system asking for acknowledgement, safety, and release, not punishment or control. Modern life unintentionally keeps anxiety alive. Constant stimulation, endless comparisons, social pressure, and digital overload train the brain to remain hyper-alert. There is no natural off switch anymore. Even moments of rest are filled with noise, scrolling, and mental clutter. Anxiety thrives in environments where the nervous system is never allowed to settle. Over time, the body confuses stillness with danger and busyness with protection. This is why slowing down can initially make anxiety worse. It feels unfamiliar, even threatening. Anxiety doesn't end because the body hasn't relearned how to feel safe in quiet. So anxiety doesn't last because you're broken. It lasts because it's been reinforced, misunderstood, and left unheard. It stays because it learned how to protect you when you didn't feel safe, supported, or understood. But protection isn't the same as peace. Anxiety was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a signal, and until you understand why it's still speaking, it will keep returning, louder and more persistent each time. Anxiety never ends when control becomes the coping mechanism. At first, control feels like relief. Planning everything, anticipating every outcome, replaying conversations, preparing for worst-case scenarios, it gives the illusion of safety. But control is not calm. It's fear wearing discipline as a disguise. The mind learns that the only way to feel secure is to stay 10 steps ahead of life. The problem is that life can never be fully predicted, so the brain never relaxes. Anxiety feeds on this constant preparation, convincing you that if you stop thinking, something bad will happen. Over time, peace starts to feel irresponsible and rest feels like a risk. Overthinking doesn't come from intelligence, it comes from mistrust. When the mind no longer trusts the present moment, it escapes into analysis. Every decision becomes heavy. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every delay becomes a threat. Anxiety survives because overthinking keeps you mentally busy while emotionally stuck. You're thinking about life instead of living it, and the more you analyze, the more uncertainty you uncover, which only reinforces the belief that danger is everywhere. Anxiety doesn't need real problems, it only needs unanswered questions. One of the most exhausting traps of anxiety is the belief that clarity will bring peace. The anxious mind is always searching for certainty. But clarity is temporary, relief fades quickly, and the mind finds something new to question. This is because anxiety is not a lack of answers, it's a lack of safety. Until the nervous system feels safe, no amount of logic will quiet it. The mind keeps asking questions because it doesn't trust the ground beneath it. Anxiety also survives through future-based living. The body exists in the present, but anxiety drags the mind forward, rehearsing moments that haven't happened yet. This creates a constant internal time pressure, as if something is always about to go wrong. The nervous system cannot distinguish between imagined danger and real danger. It reacts to both the same way. So every imagined scenario triggers real stress hormones. Anxiety never ends because the body is constantly responding to threats that only exist in thought. Control and overthinking also block emotional release. When everything is analyzed, nothing is felt fully. Emotions become problems to solve instead of experiences to move through. Fear is examined, sadness is questioned, and anger is suppressed. But emotions that aren't felt don't disappear, they circulate. Anxiety thrives in this emotional gridlock. It becomes the default outlet for everything the body hasn't been allowed to express. So anxiety doesn't stay because you think too much, it stays because thinking replaced feeling. Control replaced trust, and preparation replaced presence. The mind became the manager of emotions instead of allowing the body to process them naturally. Until that balance is restored, anxiety will keep returning, not as punishment, but as pressure asking to be released. Anxiety never ends when the past is left unresolved. Even when life looks stable on the surface, the nervous system remembers moments the mind tries to forget. Experiences that felt overwhelming, unsafe, or emotionally confusing don't disappear just because time passed. They become stored responses, patterns of tension, vigilance, and emotional guarding. Anxiety is often the echo of a past moment that never fully completed itself. The body learned to stay alert then, and it doesn't know that the danger has passed now. Many people believe trauma must be extreme to affect them, but anxiety often grows from smaller, repeated moments of emotional dismissal, not being heard, having to stay strong too early, learning that expressing fear, sadness, or anger caused rejection or conflict. The nervous system adapts by internalizing everything. Anxiety becomes the voice of all the emotions that were never allowed out. Suppressed emotions don't stay silent, they transform. Fear becomes tension, sadness becomes heaviness, anger becomes restlessness. Anxiety becomes the container for all of it. When emotions are blocked from expression, the nervous system stays activated, waiting for release. The nervous system doesn't operate on logic, it operates on safety. You can tell yourself you're okay 1,000 times, but if your body learned that the world is unpredictable or emotionally unsafe, anxiety remains active. This is why reassurance rarely works long-term. The mind understands safety, but the body hasn't experienced it consistently enough to believe it. Another reason anxiety lingers is because the body never learned how to discharge. Stress accumulates while the body stays still. The nervous system remains activated with nowhere to send the energy. Anxiety becomes that excess energy, circulating, restless, and unresolved. So anxiety persists not because you're weak, but because your nervous system adapted to survive. What once protected you is now exhausting you. And until those stored emotions are felt, processed, and safely released, anxiety will keep showing up as the messenger. Anxiety never ends when it is treated as an enemy. Judgment tells the nervous system it is still not safe. Resistance tightens the grip. Shame adds weight. Anxiety survives because it is constantly being fought instead of understood. Healing is not linear. Anxiety often resurfaces when the body finally feels safe enough to release what it has been holding. Misinterpreting this as failure causes people to tighten again, interrupting the process. Anxiety begins to loosen when safety becomes the priority instead of control. Calm is cultivated, not forced. When the body learns that it can experience discomfort without abandonment, vigilance softens, anxiety fades. When you stop trying to get rid of it and allow it to move. When sensations are no longer treated as threats, urgency dissolves. The end of anxiety is not the absence of fear, it is the absence of fear. Trust rebuilds, breathing deepens, thoughts slow naturally. Peace arrives quietly. Anxiety visits, but it no longer stays. And that is how healing actually looks. Anxiety never ends when it is misunderstood, but it loosens when it is met with safety, patience, and truth. You were never broken, you were adapting. Now you are learning how to rest inside yourself.